The SABC says it's confident that the arbitration process with music associations will resolve the dispute on the payment of needle time royalties. These are monies paid for the music aired on SABC radio stations. The arbitration will be held with the Music Performance Rights Association and the Independent Music Performance Rights Association. Speaking earlier on Morning Live, SABC Head of Legal Advocate Tutuzelo Vanara had this to say.
We are quite confident that the arbitration process would resolve the legal dispute that pertains to the allocation of needle time royalties. And I must say this is a process that we had initiated a year ago. Parties could not agree, particularly the collecting societies, on what nature of the dispute needs to be referred to the arbitration. I think the meeting of yesterday went a long way to get both collecting societies to appreciate, one, the need to have the impasse resolved so that the beneficiaries, who are the artists, should get what is due to them. The reason we went for arbitration was to try and have this matter legally resolved, but expeditiously so. In our anticipation, this matter should be resolved within a period of 6 months at the most.
Meanwhile, the SABC has reached an agreement with two needle time royalties collecting societies, IMPRA and SAMPRA. The parties agreed to embark on an arbitration process on the allocation of needle time royalties following a meeting in Auckland Park in Johannesburg yesterday. The SABC has agreed to make an advance payment to the South African Music Rights Association, IMPRA, and the Independent Music Performance Rights Association. For more on this story, we're joined by the representatives of these two collecting societies via Skype. From Johannesburg, we have Mr. Dodo Monamodi of IMPRA and Pfanani Lishivha from SAMPRA. A very good morning to both of you, gentlemen. Pfanani, let's start with you. Just unpack your engagement with the SABC for us with regards to the payment of royalties.
Good morning, and thanks for this opportunity. There has been a long-standing dispute between SAMPRA and the SABC on the payment of needle time rights royalties. But yesterday we had what I call a marathon meeting to resolve the issue, and we agreed that we should refer the dispute to arbitration. In the interim, because we know that artists are experiencing hard times as a result of the lockdown and the cancellation of live performances, we also agreed that there would be some advance payment that will be made by the SABC to the two organizations, that is SAMPRA and IMPRA, to mitigate against the economic effects of COVID-19. And we hope that the arbitration process will be completed within a period of 6 months so that we have certainty as to who needs to be paid and how much needs to be paid to who. And we are very happy that we are now going back to arbitration, and before the end of this year, this matter would have been resolved and settled.
Dodo, let's bring you into the conversation. Artists probably understand the nuances of this difference, but just quickly, for the benefit of general South Africans, the difference between IMPRA and SAMPRA.
Good morning, Sister Desiree, and the viewers at home. There's not much of a difference between the two institutions, particularly because we've been accredited for the same right. The two institutions are collecting for a right called a needle time. Now, we have our own members who are mostly your independent record labels and your local performers. And SAMPRA as well, they have their own members who, mostly will be your major record companies and, of course, some of the local producers as well. So this, we almost are serving the same market for the same thing.
So an artist would have to choose which organization to fall under?
It is very important because in choosing, we are avoiding at the time we have to do the distribution. We do not want to be found wanting with issues of of dual membership, whereby people are dipping this side and this side. So we are saying to all our members, either you belong to the right or to the left.
All right, tell us about your conversations with the SABC and if you're satisfied with the outcomes.
Definitely, we are so satisfied with the discussion. Yesterday, the SABC and ourselves and IMPRA and SAMPRA, we attended another, as my colleague was saying, it was a milestone of a discussion that we need to find the quickest and the most efficient way to address this impasse, because until this time we do that, we won't be able to find our royalties on behalf of our members. But most importantly, Sis Desiree, is that what we are taking home for our members as well is that we'll be able to create a relief fund independently, so that we are then able, in the process, as we are undertaking the processes of the arbitration, we are then able to assist our members immediately through these relief funds that will be established independently. So for our members, I think we are so happy that at least there'll be something that is put on their table. In the meantime, we are resolving our arbitration processes.
Pfanani, when you're communicating with your membership, how do you separate between the regular run-of-the-course funds that they should be getting as opposed to the relief funds for COVID-19?
Okay, before I answer that question, let me indicate that in April, after the president declared the lockdown on the 26th of March, we brought forward a distribution that was initially scheduled for September this year. And so far, we have distributed almost 70 million rands to performers or artists to mitigate against the effects of the coronavirus and the lockdown. Now, in terms of the differentiation of the amount that we will be getting from the SABC to mitigate against the effects of COVID-19, it depends on each organization on how they want to do it. In our case, we will be running a special distribution to make sure that we are paying the right people. You don't want a situation where you have got money that is disbursed indiscriminately, and people whose music has not been used for more than 5 or 10 years, suddenly they're getting money, the same amount of money with the person whose music is very active. So we will do it in the form of special distribution, this amount of money, the advance that we're getting from the SABC, to make sure that we are paying the people, and I'm talking about South African artists whose music has been used in the past year.
Just clarify for me, that 70 million you're referring to, that's not the figure in relation to your agreement with the SABC, is it? That's the government assistance.
No, the 70 million is the distribution, the SAMPRA distribution that was scheduled to be processed and paid in September 2020. But when there was a call from government to say that we need to do something to mitigate the negative effects of COVID-19 on the artists, we decided to bring it forward. So it's not money that comes from government. It's money that has been collected from music users, except the SABC, because it's only now that the SABC is paying us. So this is a normal distribution that was scheduled to be processed and paid in September, but to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 on recording artists, we brought this the distribution forward. So that's the one that I'm talking about. So this one, the amount of money that is coming from the SABC will be in addition to what we've already distributed in the last 2 months, mitigate against the effects of COVID-19.
Dodo, in the South African instance, besides the SABC, who else pays for needle time?
By law, Desiree, all the users are supposed to be paying for the repertoire that they are utilizing. Now, it's a pity that currently we find ourselves in a space whereby there's many users that have been utilizing our people's repertoire without actually paying them. We have your retailers, we have your food industries that have been, they are utilizing this kind of music without paying, unfortunately. However, maybe because we have just been in a space since 2017 and started to operate then, as we have been approaching some of the users, like maybe let me not mention their names, they tend to say, no, but this kind of monies we've been paying for since we started operating, or since from 2008. But I guess because at that time, our competitor, which is SAMPRA, has been existing. Maybe my colleague is talking of such monies when he's speaking about the 70 million that needed to be distributed. But all in all, everybody in this country who is utilizing the music, they have to be licensed to be paying for such licenses. Unfortunately, and these are the reasons why, Sis Desiree, that we've been seeing a narrative out there to say our musicians are dying pauper when their monies are all around to this kind of users.
So let's talk about the amounts in relation to the agreement with the SABC and how far this will go to assist, Dodo.
For us, it will definitely assist, because the impasse that we are trying to resolve, that is going for arbitration for the dispute raised for 2014 and 15, it will then begin to unlock all the monies that the SABC have not paid for utilizing in their platforms, as far as your retrospectively 2007 and also the future fiscal years like 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. So it will go that far. However, in the meantime, the little interim relief, we're hoping that it will be able to go far for our members, both for these collecting societies.
Let me ask both of you gentlemen the same question. I'll start with you, Pfanani. In your engagement with the SABC, did the issue of the SABC being running short of funds come up, and how was this? How did this conversation pan out? Pfanani, let's start with you.
Okay, thanks. Yes, this issue came out, and the SABC indicated that one of the conditions for the money they received from the bailout that the SABC received from government was that all debts needed to be paid. And the SABC acknowledged the fact that they owe us hundreds of millions of rands, and they want to pay this money. But in the absence of certainty as to how this should be handled, because we have got SAMPRA and IMPRA, where they will not be in a position to pay, we therefore agreed that let's go to arbitration, because this is a legal dispute. Arbitration is going to provide certainty once and for all, because we don't want going and throwing every year on this issue. We need to resolve the legal dispute. And once the legal dispute has been resolved, it's going to be easy for the SABC to know how much to pay to which of the collecting societies. So yes, the issue was raised. The SABC acknowledged that they received a bailout, and one of the conditions was that they needed to pay all their debts, their debtors, including ourselves.
Dodo, what impressions did IMPRA have of the conversation around the SABC's shortage of funds?
Honestly, I must say the leadership of SABC has recommitted to say they are acknowledging that they've utilized the repertoire of our members, and they are willing to pay as expected with the bailout that they've received. However, the challenge here has always been the impasse that me and my colleague were talking about, to say this was just on the way for allowing the SABC to disburse the distribution. However, they made it very clear that as soon as this impasse has been resolved, and then they'll be able to commit to their obligation of paying these royalties, because it may not be true, Sis Desiree, that these monies are for the repertoires that are recent. We are talking of repertoires of our legendary musicians, and mostly who have not been receiving such monies. So the SABC made it clear to say they will look into the retrospective monies to be paid so that everybody has been catered for. So we really appreciate the leadership under the CEO Ntlakwe, so that they make sure that they deliver their obligations as required.
Okay, as we wrap up our conversation, I'd like to ask both of you the same question yet again, although it's two-pronged. One is, how then going forward from here are you communicating this to your members? But two is the Department of Arts and Culture has also got a relief program underway for artists. How are you interacting with that? Let's start with Pfanani and then Dodo.
In terms of communication, we are on social media, all social media platforms. We also have a mobile app. We are the only CMO in the whole of Africa that has a national mobile app. So we constantly update our members on what is happening. Even the 70 million rand that I was talking about, all of us knew before the payment was done that we brought the distribution forward. We are doing the same thing with regards to the agreement we have just reached with the SABC, that we will be running another distribution to disburse this advance payment that has been made by the SABC, and that we are proceeding to arbitration. With regards to the Department of Arts and Culture, the Department of Arts and Culture was represented at yesterday's meeting. There was, at some point, we were considering that maybe this amount that the SABC is going to pay to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 should be donated to the relief fund of arts and culture. But it was later decided that since arts and culture still had to disburse its 150 million rand, this should be handled separately by the respective CMOs. So we will be working hand in hand with the Department of Arts and Culture. But as Dodo pointed out earlier on, IMPRA will do its own stuff, and we will also do our own distribution in terms of mitigating the effects of COVID-19.
Gentlemen, let's thank you both for talking to us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dodo Monamodi is with IMPRA, and Pfanani Lishivha is with SAMPRA. Thank you again. Let's take a break.